All right, welcome to a special edition of Y Space.
What an
Um,
exciting time, guys.
it's so weird, honestly, that we even had to do this episode. That you folks have so graciously sent us questions,
Do you
and
remember when we first started just recording our basic conversations? We would have never thought people would listen to this.
never in a million years. I mean, if we had questions, I assumed they were all from Laura asking us who someone was.
Right, right.
But it's probably our favorite thing, and so we decided we wanted to give the questions the time that they were due. And
Yes.
so we're going to have a special episode every month, at least until the questions run out. So this is July, and we have quite a few. We'll still have regular questions in the episodes, just a couple here and there, but the majority we'll try to do here.
Yeah.
So, are you ready?
Let's get into it.
And I want to go ahead and just preface as an apology from the beginning. I am not the best at pronouncing things. There is one name that I'm already sweating thinking about how to
I think I
pronounce.
know who it is.
I
I
have
was
I
doing my notes last night. In my head, I was like, Mandy's going to have a doozy on that one.
I have practiced. I have Googled. You know, you can also like go into Google and put how do you pronounce and put a word, and it'll tell
Yes.
you. It says it different every time.
Awesome.
So I just want to apologize in advance, but we'll kick it off with an easy one from Seth. I'm pretty
There
sure
you
I got
go.
that one right. And this is actually a really interesting one because we have texted about this topic
Mhm.
before. But it says, what do you make of the Questlove game nights? Were there TS Easter eggs when she attended? And is there more to the whole thing in general? So, backstory, if you're not familiar, Questlove is a artist, a musician.
Mhm.
He's with the group The Roots. So if you watch Jimmy Kimmel, nope, do it every time.
Fallon.
Jimmy Fallon, every time. And I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know why I do that. And I love Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon, The Roots play. They're like his show band or whatever, and
Yes.
Questlove is the main person. He does a lot of documentaries. He's very involved in pop culture. And I guess sort of around this time last year or in the spring last year, just randomly on Instagram, he would post a slew of pictures of these game nights he was having at different locations. But I think at first they all started at his apartment in New York.
Right.
And
With
there's
quite a few celebrities.
all types of people. Like, I mean, just a random conglomerate of people just hanging out, playing literal board games and
Yeah.
card games like Uno. Um, and yes, Taylor was there at, I want to say two at least game nights. And they've continued on, but they like it's not consistent. It'll kind of come out of nowhere. He'll post them. Um, and so when it first happened, I remember texting you like, "What is happening here? Why is
Yeah.
Taylor at a Uno party with Questlove? I don't even understand." And she was like at a table with Melanie, one of her backup singers, and like Jason Sudeikis.
Yes.
Just the whole thing was weird. And then the next one, like Channing Tatum and Zoe Kravitz and Gigi, like a lot of Taylor's squad were there. So I don't know. Becca,
I think you
what
and
are
I
your thoughts?
probably differ on this because I'm not in the Easter egg camp. In my opinion, I just kind of think this is just a group of famous people that run in the same circles that get together and hang out. I don't think that there's Easter eggs here. I just think sometimes people just hang out, and when they hang out, they take pictures and they post it on their Instagram.
What do you
It's
mean, like
just
they're
like any
normal?
average American would do.
Okay, that's an interesting theory there.
I do think that there are the Swifties that do like the numbers and they can recall things from like 10 years ago. Do you
uh-huh.
remember when she wore this color sock? And then today, 129 days later, like
Yeah.
it's wild. But
Plus
I'm sure they
13
can
seconds.
equate something that happened during an Uno game to like something else that Taylor did. And they're like, see, it was an Easter egg. But I really think it's just a group of people hanging out. Do you think that there's actual Easter eggs in that? Do you also think that Taylor goes to all of these famous people and she's like, hey, I gotta post some pictures, or somebody's gonna post some pictures. Could you make an effort tonight to like put up two fingers or show your left ear instead of your right ear? Like something.
Right. So I mean, clearly we don't know. And I will say this is kind of stepping into speculation, but it's not about personal lives, so I don't feel bad
Yeah.
about this. So when the pictures first came out that she was in last year, I do remember texting you and I was convinced that this was some kind of thing. And of course, that was like, I don't even think she had announced Speak Now yet. Like, so we knew re-records were coming. We didn't know when, what had happened during the tour. The tour had just kicked off. It was like her literal first break. And so I did assume at that point there were Easter eggs. And then I kind of just like lost the plot because I mean, I couldn't put anything together. Now, she
Yeah.
has not been at least photographed at one of these parties since last year. I do think that potentially when she was in LA for that break, that she and Travis probably went because he had a couple of them in LA this time. Now going back, if you go back and look at the pictures of Taylor at the Uno party, she does have a red 8 and a yellow 7 sitting next to each other, laying on the table in front of her. I think that was an Easter egg that they were talking and no one knew. And I think like she never when I say Easter egg, I don't think she intended it like, hey, I hope y'all pick up on this clue. I think she just thought it was funny and cute and sent him the picture. I don't think it was her way of trying to.
Could you also be persuaded to think that it was just a coincidence?
Yeah. I mean, as much as the invisible strings have strung with these two, yeah, it could be a total random thing. But I do think Melanie was very much in the know in the beginning of their relationship, especially because Melanie was kind of like one of the first people to go to the games, and she was sitting together and they were giggling and they were laying there. It just seems like I could see her be like, take this picture and send it to him.
Yeah.
So I do think maybe
there's definitely a case to be built for sure.
Yeah, I think there may have been a little of that kind of thing. Now, at the time, I assumed and maybe hoped she was maybe putting some music together with Questlove because I'm in. That would be fantastic. Also, he's so active in the documentary community. I didn't know if like there was a play with that. I didn't know. And I don't think we still know if there were things there. I do think it was very obvious that there were a lot of intentional things in those pictures at first, in specifically the two parties she was photographed at. The two thing happened a lot. And yes, I do think that she is like, hey, y'all play along. Because I'm pretty sure some of her friends have said before that they like being involved with it. And obviously, it's been very clear with when they purposefully go out with a padlock that they all wear the colors that are applicable to whatever she's wanting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do think they play along. I think a lot of them think it's really fun. I think Travis has been playing along with the clothes he wears.
Yeah.
I mean,
that I can get. I think it's much easier to get your group of friends to be like, hey, everybody, tonight we're wearing black with a red somewhere or something like that. But I think it's exhausting to think that every time she's out with friends, she has 15 things that she's asked them to do. I just don't think that she does that.
I don't think she does that. I do think the twoing thing. I do think she's had them all playing along with that. I think that was part of the TTPD thing. Last night when she did the second night in Germany, she during midnight did like twos again. But I almost felt like she was mocking it in the video. People were like, "Oh, it's for sure going to be another double drop." I took it as like laughing about it.
Yeah. Here's what I need from Taylor Nation. Because I know they're listening. Okay. I'm going to need you to release, hey, each year we're only doing 5 Easter eggs. That's it. That's all that's going to be out.
Yeah. Because I don't know that they're going to
Easter egg exhausted. Literally everything she does, says, a movement she makes. All these Swifties are coming out saying that's an Easter egg. It's too much. It can't all be an Easter egg. Sometimes she sneezes twice because her body needed to sneeze twice. Like it's excessive.
Listen, the fact that people now have been like, oh, she's now swallowed 3 bugs and each time she was wearing an orange dress. I'm like, I mean, yes, I agree. That is real random that happened. But like,
right. I don't think it was intentional for some kind of an album like something.
Please throw a fly in my throat. No, I don't think that happened. So I don't know the real story behind the
But listen, as much as I hate on the Swifties that do all of these Easter eggs and theories, I appreciate that they are out here doing the Lord's work because I enjoy listening to your theories. I don't agree with 99% of them, but I do enjoy listening to them.
Yeah, I mean, and I go through my phases of burnout, and I don't know what the story is about the Questlove thing. I don't know that we'll ever know, but I can tell you this, that I know without a shadow of a doubt. I'm in. If he needs me to come to a party, I love a good game of Uno.
Right. You know the rules.
I'm in.
On it.
I'm in.
Okay.
But that's a great question and so random because we have like literally talked about that.
Yeah.
All right. This is from Becky, and this is the first 3 words are all capitalized. So she says, love, love, love that y'all promote women's sports, especially the WNBA, which, by the way, also a shocker to us as well. It says, imagine you were a coach / owner of a WNBA team this past spring. Who would you have drafted number 1 if you had the first pick, and why, of course?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because I think everybody that talked about the draft, everybody was saying, oh, I'd pick Caitlin number 1. And great pick. Listen, we're not hating on that pick.
So what are you going, though? I'm real curious because you've had a lot of emotional roller coasters with the WNBA.
Caitlin and I have a very up and down relationship.
Very bipolar. So I'm curious. Who would you have picked?
Cameron Brink. She was so enjoyable to watch. I'm so sad that she is out this season, that she will not be at the Olympics. But she was a rock star when she was at Stanford. Like, she has tons of great stats. She had won, what did I put? Pac-12 Player of the Year multiple times, all-time leader in blocks. And in general, she just seems to have a really good head on her shoulders about the game and the fame piece of it, because this year has to be so drastically different for all of those women that have played a sport. But she seems to understand, like, this is a game that I just enjoy playing and not getting too much into the hype, which I think a lot of that is because she is so close to the Currys. And so she's used to what does that side look like on the professional side as opposed to the collegiate side, and just trying to stay almost humble about it is kind of what it appears. So she would have probably been my first draft pick.
I think that's a good one too, because she's smart. Like, you don't go to Stanford if you're not. And I think that's like a key that people miss out on a lot. I was going to get you to guess who mine is, but I feel like that, I don't know. I've kind of been up and down about a few people too. I went with Kate Martin.
Oh, good pick.
So obviously I also went with her because she went to the Aces, and that is my favorite team. So I was just assuming then that I got to be the owner of the Aces in this analogy.
Obviously.
So, but also, and I don't think that, I mean, I don't know. My gut says that they may not have even known the team impact Kate was going to have when they brought her on. Because, like, I don't think there is a rookie right now that has really, like, had their team, like, really bond with them the way that she has. The Aces, like, hook, line, and sinker are in on Kate. Like, I mean, it was so displayed when she got hurt this week, which, again, why do all the ones we love keep getting hurt? And I still haven't heard any reports about what it is.
I didn't look up anything today, but yesterday they still had not released what exactly was hurt.
And that's usually,
but man, did they crowd around her when she went down to cover whatever it was.
Well, and I saw they asked, one day we're going to learn, Aja. They asked her in the press conference after the game, like, can you tell us kind of why y'all did that? And I loved what she said. She was like, because y'all get all in the business. Like, a person deserves a moment. And she was like, he deserved a moment to cry. So, yeah, I put a towel under her head and, like, let her have her moment. Like,
I would say that team in general seems to have not only extremely mature players on it, but very emotionally mature.
God, I just freaking love them. And
you don't often see a group like that.
No, and I think, I mean, there's always that whole thing of kind of like the hazing,
weird
drives with rookies and stuff. I don't feel like they've done that at all. So I think there was that maybe they knew Kate could be that kind of person that they brought in. But that would be hard to know in my opinion. But then it's just from like an athletic and basketball standpoint, like she's kind of like that sixth man sort of thing in basketball, which is like such an important role. And for this team, she's able to fill that so well because they do have such big names like with Kelce and Aja and like some other people. I
Right.
mean, they've got, a pretty solid roster, although they're not doing that awesome this year. But I think, and also like because of the success of the Iowa women's team and because Caitlin really was the one in the spotlight, like I think Kate gets it from a team perspective. And that
Yes.
is something that I don't think Angel Reese gets. I would have never drafted Angel in general, but Caitlin would have been my other choice because obviously it's Caitlin Clark, but I still think I'd have gone Kate over her.
Okay.
So I did have a quick note that I read an article this morning that there is potential that Caitlin could still end up going to the Olympics.
Really? How so? Like an
She's
alternate?
she's the number one alternate. And
Okay.
so there was this whole thing that apparently she was invited to play with the team from Italy because of her Italian heritage. And she turned it down because she is the number one alternate. So anybody gets hurt, which clearly could happen at any moment, she's the first one on a plane to Paris.
I don't think I realized that. I feel like that would have been brought up when everybody was hating on the fact that she wasn't going.
Apparently, the women's team does not announce alternates.
Okay. Well, there you go.
So, and it's obvious it can happen because the men's team, Kawhi Leonard, they sent him home.
Yeah.
They said
No
bye.
questions asked.
Yeah.
There.
But anyway, that was just a random note. But great question. And happy to own any team that would like me to purchase them for a very small amount of money. Next up, we've got from Jamie. If you could be a permanent co-host on any podcast, what show would you want to be on and why?
Okay.
Now, I'm still not sure what I'm about to say. So go ahead. You go first.
I did wonder for you. So for mine, I picked more on like who sticks to my content that I enjoy like reading about every single day. So I went with either the Big Boo podcast because they are always talking SEC and just their everyday lives. So I think that would be a fun one to be on, or the podcast with Knox and Jamie because they do all things pop culture. Sometimes they do some deep dives. You could even swing over to Knox. He's got his podcast on sports. So I think I would go one of those just because I feel like I could add something to it. If you're putting me in a room with like New Heights or Calm Down, I think the whole time I'm just nervous that why in the world am I even here?
Yeah. What am I doing here? Yeah. Okay, well, that didn't help because you just said both of them. So that was where I landed too. I thought the Big Boo because same reasons, like they talk life, they talk football, they also like they do something that I do a lot in my personal life, like, or at least Sophie for sure will. She'll be like, "Now that's got the gospel written all over it."
Yes.
If Aaron were here, he would tell you that I say to him so many times he wants to hit me that, like, well, you know what? I'll go back to the garden in the tree and they ate that apple. So all because of that. Like, I say that all the time. And so I feel like I could really fit in with them in that situation. My second one was also the podcast, but I had a fear in me that, like, I mean, they are so
good
at what they do that I don't know that I could really help.
I think I would have to study my notes harder to be prepped for one of their recordings than I studied in college. I studied hard in college.
Well, see, I didn't. So that's not my forte. I was a political science major. We just BS everything. But also with them, they are really good at being nuanced about things that I cannot be nuanced about.
Yes.
Like, for instance, when you talk about Taylor, like Jamie and Aaron went to, I believe it was one of the Atlanta shows. Okay. And then that was like right before the Maddie Healy stuff came out. And then, of course, they were not happy with the Maddie situation, as most people were not. And so, like, they kind of bailed and they were like, this is the reasons why. And then when TTPD came out, when they did their review, they were able to be a lot more nuanced about her and all of that than I can be.
Yeah.
And so I'm afraid that I would get put in the corner a lot. So.
I also get really nervous. See, I think I'm real funny. and quick-witted. But then when
Oh,
I'm
okay.
around or listen to those kind of people, I'm like, no, like you guys are really funny and quick-witted.
Yeah, I
You know,
also
I panic and need to think about it.
yeah, I also think if I was like I'm just imagining myself in a Zoom session with them recording. I feel like I would be kind of like watching a tennis match
Yes.
because I think I'm so like engrossed when they're talking that I would just be like back and forth
Yeah.
between the two. And then they would be like,
Right.
"Do you have anything to add?" "Oh no, no, I'm
No.
good, thanks."
I would just be sitting there like watching them and be like, I think you guys covered it.
Yeah. Yeah,
I have
but I
literally
mean,
nothing to add to this.
listen, I'll give it a shot though. Like,
Right? Have
call
me
me
out.
up.
I want to be in the room with them when they record, though. I think that adds a different dynamic too.
Oh yeah. Back when like Knox still lived in Birmingham and they would like be in the office, I felt like the
Mhm.
content was hilarious. Just
Yeah.
their dynamic, especially with it. Because like you could hear Erin over at her desk, like,
Yes.
you know, making all these
Yes. It just adds a different element to it.
Yeah. Okay, next one up is from Dennis. And this is a kiss, marry, kill, or start bench cut, however it would work for these options, which I thought was funny. Because that actually, we'll get to it, but to me, that does change the game. But his three options
It
are
does.
Justin Bieber, Shawn Mendes, and Harry Styles. Now, kiss, marry, kill, and start bench cut, vastly different games, Dennis.
Yeah.
So,
It would change my answers.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I've got two sets of answers. So let's start with if the game was kiss, marry, kill.
Okay. So if we're going kiss, marry, kill, I'm going to kiss Shawn Mendes.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to marry Harry Styles, and I'm going to have to kill Justin Bieber.
Same.
And that's merely just the emotional aspect of it when you think kiss, marry, kill, because you're thinking relationship-wise.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm thinking relationship-wise, it's definitely that. And I mean, Dennis, I don't know if you're a Bieber or what were they called? Beliebers? I don't know if you are one. And if you are, sir, I apologize because I couldn't be further. So it's not going to be good for me and Justin. It's just not going to happen. But yeah, that was my same. Now, if it was start, bench, cut, are we talking like, this is the way I did it in my mind. Start, bench, cut to headline a tour.
Yeah, that's how I was doing it.
Okay. Go ahead.
So I'm going to, if we're start benching and cutting, I'm going to start Harry Styles. I'm going to bench Justin Bieber. And I'm going to cut Shawn Mendes.
Okay, so same. So I think Harry.
Wait, did we have the exact same on both of them?
Yeah, which never happens. But this, like, the thing is, I mean, as far as musicality goes, I mean, Harry is a whole nother thing compared to those two. I will say musically, I don't like to watch Justin Bieber perform because I don't think he showers, nor does he know how to buy clothes that fit.
I still see him as like a 13-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I just did not see him grown up.
With fake tattoos all over him?
Yes.
Yeah. Same.
Listen, when your pants are under your butt and you're still rocking the like wife beater and the
what are we doing?
Showing, I just can't take you seriously as an actual adult.
I saw something of him the other day. He posted some pictures from a golf trip he was recently on. And I thought to myself, first of all, why are you golfing without your shoes on, sir? But then second of all, I thought if he would just put on clothes that fit, and cut his hair, he would be a decent looking human being.
Yeah. Listen, I'm all for the oversized clothes. I enjoy me an oversized sweatshirt.
Right.
But I think when I'm going out in public, I want things that are a little bit more fitted to my body.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't like, is she 500 pounds under there or is she normal? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's a good thing he's a man because, if it was a woman, they'd be like, oh, she's pregnant.
Yes.
But I will say, Judd listens to some Bieber, and I catch myself, that song that he wrote about Selena, the Ghost song.
Yes.
It gets in my head.
Music.
It gets in my head, and I can't quit.
Yep.
Shawn Mendes, I'm not sure really what's happening with Shawn.
Listen, I think if we were at like a yoga retreat,
he
did some calming sounds to get us to where we needed to be. He's who I'm calling. But if I'm trying to watch a concert, I just don't.
No.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going that route.
No, maybe in like a bar scene, but yeah,
maybe.
But great question, and we never agree on the same ones. So
I know that was shocking.
Those were kind of some weird ones. We've got another one coming up later that's a variety of people, so we'll see. Okay, so
here it is. Oh.
Okay, so next up we have a question from I'm going to go Kanan.
That's how I thought it was.
Okay, great. Listen, I don't know who you are, and I'm
Same
not.
person today.
I am not sure of your pronouns, but whoever you are, I appreciate the question, and if I messed that up, I really apologize. But I love your questions. You asked. I appreciate that you all are big Blake Lively fans, as am I. What is your favorite movie role she played, and what are your thoughts on her being cast as Lily in It Ends With Us? First of all, I also wanted to shout out these listeners. You don't even just submit a question, it's always a 4-part question.
Yeah.
Which is how we roll. So I appreciate that. Also, tune into next week's episode of Y Space. It comes out Tuesday because we talk about Blake Lively and It Ends With Us. Now, Becca is not really the movie connoisseur. And I'm not either, but I have seen every movie Blake Lively has been in. So, Becca, please tell us what your favorite.
Reading this question, I'm like, yeah, we're big Blake Lively fans. And so that, you know, what is my favorite movie? So I pull up IMDb and I start looking. Mandy.
Oh, it was a struggle, huh? Okay.
I've only seen one movie she's been in.
Okay. That's more than I thought you were going to say, I'll be honest.
Same. So I picked Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, since that's what I was introduced to her as. Which shocks me, the types of movies that she's been in that I have not seen, because I for sure thought I had seen a whole bunch that she had done. But I guess I just consume her normal life, and it's not her actual job.
So there is actually a difference. Yeah.
Turns out.
Yeah. Now, have you seen both Sisterhoods or just one?
I only saw the first one. I don't think I saw the second one.
Okay. You probably.
And I don't even remember why I watched the first one, because I know I didn't go see it in theater. So I had to have watched it with like a group of girlfriends or something.
I feel like I need to go ahead and add to your homework to watch the second one, because I think you would love it. It's very Hallmark.
Listen, you're adding a lot. I've still got to do, what is it, Maverick? Not Maverick.
Top Gun.
Top Gun.
Okay. Well, listen.
It's too much.
And I'm not like a huge movie connoisseur. Aaron makes fun of me all the time. He'll be like, have you seen whatever? And it could be a very mainstream movie. And I'm like, no. But one thing that I do that I think actually probably annoys him is I do like go read the transcripts of movies. Now, listen, I know that takes longer than watching the movie for some people. I'm actually a speed reader.
Why?
Like legit speed reader. Like I can read a 300-page book in like an afternoon, and I can tell you what happened.
That's impressive.
And so I just prefer to read. I don't know. Now, I have seen everything Blake has been in, though. So I don't have one answer. I've got a couple. Again, these are not movies that I foresee that this is not your space. Okay. Most of these. Okay. I love Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. That was like, so that's not what introduced me to Blake, even though it came first. Gossip Girl really got me in on Blake. And then I went back and watched the movies because of her.
Gotcha.
And they are actually movies that I can watch over and over again. So I do love those. But let's talk about Grown Up Blake. I actually like the movie that she made with Ben Affleck called Town. Listen, I've heard the rumors too, okay, about what may have happened on that show when they were filming. We don't talk about that on here. I choose to not believe it. So there's that. But it's a really great movie, and she plays like this, Boston person. So she's got the whole accent, and she's kind of grungy. I'm not sure she showered while making that movie. But there's a lot of drama. There's crime. There's some very X-rated scenes. But I actually really like the movie. And then second of all, I really like the movie A Simple Favor that she made with Anna Kendrick. And a new one's being made or has been made now. Again, totally weird vibe. She kind of she plays both sides of the street sexually in this movie. But it's also she's very mysterious in this role, and she's really good. So like that. And then the third one is a movie called The Shallows. I really enjoyed it. I do not have on my list Green Lantern. However, I don't hate.
I'm surprised I hadn't seen. Because we always
Well,
see those.
we talked about this yesterday. Both of our husbands are very into the whole Marvel DC world, and our boys are. And Green Lantern is actually Aaron's favorite superhero-esque person, whatever. He hates that movie. I don't hate it. It's just not my vibe.
Yeah.
But it is allegedly kind of when they hit off their friendship, she and Ryan. So,
Okay.
and then as far as our thoughts about her as Lily, we do talk more about this in next week's episode. I will say I couldn't be more excited.
Yes. I think she'll do great in the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I am proud of you. You've at least seen one. That's more than I was thinking.
I was quite proud of myself.
So next up, we've got a question from Paul. And this is, again, a 15-part question, which we appreciate. What are your predictions for how the U.S. teams will do in women's gymnastics, men's gymnastics, women's soccer, women's basketball, and men's basketball in Paris at the Olympics this summer?
Yeah.
So I figured we could take this sport by sport here that he has mentioned. How do we feel about the women's gymnastics team? I think I know, but go ahead and enlighten us.
I mean, I think we have a solid, as long as everyone stays healthy, I think we have a shot for gold on everything. So we have really, not only do we have strong competitors this year who are the best of the best and winning world, but this isn't their first rodeo. So you don't run the chance of them getting there and then being freaked out by how big the stage is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they've been here before. This isn't a shock. And so I think we've only got, a few of the younger girls going. I think that that's a good balance for them to be able to enjoy it and take it all in, but also not be overwhelmed by the moment. So I think our women's gymnastics is best of the best.
Yeah, I think we have a solid shot. I think whenever you have Simone Biles on your team, like, you got a chance. Like,
you got Simone and Jordan.
Yeah.
You're doing well.
Yeah. And I think you add in Suni Lee, and I think we have a very, very strong chance on the all-around team.
Yes.
Now, on individuals, I think Simone, as long as she stays healthy, God willing, I think that's a lock. Like, that'll happen. And then as far as the men's team, I will be honest that I am less versed in the men's gymnastics. So I did do a little research. Okay. I'm always going to assume, based on my own biases, that I'm always going to assume we're in the race.
Yes.
Like, I'm always going to think we've got a chance. However, there are a few sports we're about to talk about that I'm going to tell you I don't think we have a chance. But I don't know as much about the men's side. What about you?
I don't know a ton. I know there's one, I think his name is Brody, if I remember correctly. He's been around for a long time. Here's the thing that concerns me on the men's is when they're doing floor or they're doing some of these other things, those guys have braces on. You don't see the girls really doing that. So I get concerned that there's more chance for some injury going in there. But again, I have no idea what the other country contestants even look like. And I haven't researched the guys enough to know if, did any of them win worlds or any of that kind of stuff. I think we have a solid chance. Our men's teams have always been really good. I watched them at the Olympic trials and they seemed like a solid group of guys. So quite a few younger guys. I think Brody's been to the Olympics before. I don't remember exactly because I always stick more with the women's. Yeah. I think we still have a really good shot on the men's side as well.
Yeah. So I'm just not very versed on the men's side. I'll be honest. I find watching the men's gymnastics events a bit uncomfortable. I also feel like they're going to hurt themselves in places.
The pommel horse.
I get real worried. Yeah. But I did some research, because, hey, we do not want to come without our stuff.
That's
and
right.
It sounds like to me, we're looking at, let me just make sure I say this right. It looks like we're looking at some kind of combination between Japan, China, and Russia.
Well, those have always been strong countries, right? In the gymnastics.
What I was going to say is, if I had
to Russia competing? Are they allowed to compete?
Well, that was my. Are you?
Or do they compete under a different name that's not Russia, but it is Russia?
I am convinced that we are on this. This is not normal. Normally, we have very differing opinions, but I'm thinking you're reading my notes. That's my question. Is that I thought that I heard Russia was not able to.
They couldn't last Olympics, and I feel like the Olympics before they also couldn't.
Yeah, I think for some reason
I
that they're
want to say they compete under, is it the ROC?
yes. Well, there's also that one group which I find very confusing, but people that have been like they're not exiled, but they've what's the word I'm looking for where they've like escaped their refugees.
Oh, yes. There was a refugee group.
Was it
Okay.
well, I don't know if maybe, but it sounds like Japan and China have got things on lock, so maybe we're going for bronze. I don't know.
That'll be interesting to watch then, since I don't really know. But those are the countries that every Olympics you always hear men's and women's. Those are your
Yeah.
strong competitors.
Yeah. Then let's talk about soccer. So, as we all know, if you watch the show even once, you know that I'm really very displeased with the U.S. women's national team. And there's a part of me that wants them to lose out. And that's very hard. I'm a
Okay.
very proud
Spicy
American.
candies.
I know. I know. I'm a very proud American. I'm a very big proponent of Team USA. But when you make stupid decisions, when you
Yeah.
play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Okay?
They have a lot of younger players on the team this year,
They're not
right?
good.
And by younger, I mean like probably have not competed in the Olympics before.
Yeah, yeah, and some of their best players that they're relying the most on have not. Which again is why you would, in theory, have one of the world's greatest women's soccer players who is a veteran there. But if we make stupid decisions, that's not what you would do. I'll be honest though, I watched their friendly this week in DC.
Okay.
They don't look good. Now, were they like holding back? I don't know. They did not look like they were playing well together. That's what happens when you don't have veteran leadership on the field. Um, but also there was no cohesion. The vibe wasn't right. The coaching was not great, and
Yeah.
clearly she's not going to be good at that because she's an idiot. So I don't know. I don't have a good feeling. And I will say
I
they're
also
in a.
think soccer is one of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say they're in a very interesting pool. So Germany is in their pool, and apparently the German team from they like, good Lord, I don't see them beating them out. Now, the only reason I think that there could be a shot is because their only other competition, so in their pool, it's Germany, US, Zambia, and Australia.
Okay.
But I'll be honest, Zambia is the only country, or Zambia, I sound like an idiot, is the only country that I think they could beat in their pool.
Interesting.
I think that my end thought is that we don't even get in the top like 6. I think it's going to be Spain wins. I think you'll have some combination of Spain, Japan, Brazil, and apparently one to watch, Nigeria.
Okay.
Never knew that either. But yeah, the US women's here's the thing. Even if Alex were there, which she should be, they're not going to win.
No.
I mean, will they win some matches? Or if she was there, yes. But were they going to win the gold? No.
Well, and I think there's a lot to be said to have some of these women on the team that kind of bring unity, and let's take ego out of it because we're here to win the game. Because I think soccer is one of those sports where you have all these women that throughout the year don't necessarily always play together, correct?
Yeah.
So I think when they come to this, like you're all playing your own style, how you're used to practice, how you're used to plays being run, how you're used to somebody passing you a ball, like it's all different. And to me, their attitudes kind of come across like, if you're not going to play to my level or the way that I play, then I'm going to make it difficult for you instead of trying to come together and be a good team.
Yeah.
At least that's the perception from the very little that I keep up with soccer.
Yeah. And then on the men's side, men's soccer is super confusing to me. Not the game.
Much drama this year.
Yeah. Not the game to me, but like just the dynamics. Again, I think there is something in play. We have talked about this with golf. Can the live players be on teams? Can they not? Like there are different rules now. I don't know if there is some kind of rule around the soccer, because what I do notice when I look at the men's roster, there's one name that I know, and that's Walker Zimmerman. The rest of them I don't know. So then I ask myself, like, where's Christian Pulisic?
Yeah.
Like he's the big US. So I'm like, why is he not going to the Olympics? I'm super confused. He just played in the Copa America with the US team. Do we have multiple teams? I don't understand.
Interesting.
But then also, like, I didn't see on rosters for other countries with big name people like Argentina, I didn't see Messi. And so I was like, I don't understand
Isn't
what's
he
happening.
injured?
Well, he is now, but he would have been on the roster in the beginning, I would have thought.
Gotcha.
So I don't really understand what's happening, but I can tell you we're not winning that. It ain't happening. We couldn't
Okay,
win in
so
the Copa America. No. Like,
don't get our hopes up.
no, not happening. Now,
Got it.
basketball, let's go back into where I think we may have a shot. Is
Yes.
basketball. I think the women's team will win.
Yep.
For sure. And we didn't need
I think they have a lot of momentum behind them. Just in general, how the WNBA this year, I think they're going into it with probably a lot more confidence and support from a fan base than previously.
We just have really big names. I mean,
Yes.
obviously we have the WNBA and so we see it more, but I also think, and just based on what I've read, the competition in the WNBA is much stronger than the women's leagues around the world. And so I think they're just accustomed to like a tougher schedule.
Right.
We have some really good players.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lock. I think that the men's team is a lock.
Seems like we've got some solid players.
I mean, I'd say
Who's
we
the
have
men's basketball coach? Do you know?
I
I didn't even look to see who was coaching.
I know some of the coaches, but I don't know who the head coach. Like Grant Hill is one of the coaches, but I don't know who the head coach is. I don't even know who's coaching the women's. Oh, isn't the lady coaching the women's team the one that was so like nasty about Caitlin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think like when you have people like LeBron, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, like I just am like,
Oh, Steve.
oh, well, that's a no-brainer. How did I not think of that? I
Curry.
just don't see them getting beat. Again, you go back to the NBA is so much tougher than these international leagues. That's why guys, when they are aging out or can't make it in the NBA, go play overseas.
Right.
So I just like it'd be real stupid if we lost.
Yeah.
But fantastic question. 1 week from today, when we're recording this, I have no idea when we're going to put this out, but
Opening night's coming. I cannot wait.
so soon.
Yep.
But thank you for the question, Paul. Okay. I'm just assuming this is from Shell. Because that's the way it's spelled.
I go for it.
A few weeks back, I can't. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. Okay, a few weeks back, you criticized Billie Eilish. First of all, Shell, if you watch the show, I probably criticize Billie Eilish almost weekly. But thank you. So
I was going to say, is it criticizing if it's just the way we speak of her?
okay.
It's just our normal about her.
So a few weeks back, you criticized Billie Eilish for saying she wouldn't pick anyone as her dream collab. Who would you want to see her collab with? Well, Shell, I don't care to see Billie anything, but I did come up with an answer for you only.
Okay.
But let me just tell you, even if she did this, I wouldn't listen because I don't care.
100%.
Oh,
100%.
did you come up with anyone?
Well, so at first when I was thinking about this, I was like, I just don't want anybody to have to collaborate with her and then have their name tied to her. I just think that's mean.
Same.
So the only thing I could think of is maybe Dua Lipa. I feel like maybe their sounds and musical vibes would go together. But like you said, even if they do a song, I'm not listening. And listen, it's not because of the shade that Billie puts towards seemingly Taylor.
No.
Quite often. I just in general have never, she comes off a little too abrasive for me in every interview she does and cocky. And I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm instantly out when you get cocky.
Yeah. Again, I have said before on here, probably in relation to Billie, I get turned off when your whole vibe and your whole aura is being weird.
Yes.
Like it's
not authentic. You're not being your authentic self.
It's an act. It's not real. And so I just, anyway. So, but in that vein, I was like, okay. So I'll be honest. I had one thought first and I literally was like, I like him as a person, I think, and I don't want him to have to endure this. And that was Noah Khan.
Okay.
Because, and I have complained about this with Billie. She's all breathy and vowedy and ugh. So I first thought no, and then I was like, I will not do that to him. Seems like a good human. But so I leaned into the weird vibe and I went Lady Gaga.
Okay.
Either way, Shell, and be honest, if you're a Billie fan, go enjoy yourself. But
Listen,
we're
I
not
do
free.
want to know if Shell is a Billy fan. And if she is, like, who would you collab with and why do you like
Yeah, because I mean, are you just stirring the pot or what are we doing here? It's like whoever
Listen,
Billy's with, I'm not gonna hear
we're
it.
not yucking your yum. We
No.
just want to know.
Yeah,
It's
go ahead, tell
interesting
us.
to me when
Yeah.
people like something that I'm just really opposed to.
And
I like to know the other side.
if you are a Billy fan, I'd love to know your reasons why. We can tell you a 18-part series of why we're Taylor fans. So you tell us. That's all I'm saying. Next up we have from Abby. I'm glad we're back in things that I do like. You said,
Yes.
Nene, you are a big fan of Gracie Abrams, and you were right, Abby. What is your review of her new album? And Becca, what are your thoughts on the new song with Taylor? So Becca, tell us your thoughts on us with Taylor.
So I didn't even know who Gracie Abrams was until you constantly would mention her when talking about Taylor.
Well, we had to learn
And
it that
even
way.
at that, I was like, oh, she must be an actress or something. I didn't even realize she was a musician or a songwriter.
Right.
So I've never listened to anything. And honestly, until she released this song with Taylor, I still had not listened to anything she had ever put out. So I didn't have high hopes when Us came out because again, I had no idea what she sounded like, what that collaboration would be.
Mhm.
I absolutely loved their song together.
So good.
I think one of the things is I really appreciate a songwriter that puts a lot of thought into their lyrics.
Yep.
They're not writing a song that's just going to be mainstream and catchy.
Mhm.
There's actually some depth there where other people can grab onto that song and kind of make it their own.
Mhm.
And so I was very impressed by her songwriting. Obviously, I know that she wrote it with Taylor, and so there was Taylor's inspiration in that song as well. So I thought the lyrics were really good. I loved listening to it. I think we were driving back to my mom's house when the day that it came out. I bet I listened to it on repeat pretty much the entire 6-hour drive. The kids were done.
Yeah. There is an app. I want to say it's called like fm.stats. I don't know if you've seen this, but it can connect. You can log into it through your Spotify or Apple Music, I think, if you're an Apple Music person. I'm not sure, but I'm Spotify. So I do it every so often just because I like to see like where my streaming is going, even though I know who the majority of it is. That's actually why I look at it, to see who else I'm listening to. And yeah, Us is like super high on mine.
Yes.
I want to say
it's so good.
Maybe
It's
right
so
now.
good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Yes, Abby, I'm a huge Gracie Abrams fan. I too was not familiar. I think I've explained this on the show before. I didn't know who she was. Then she was an opener on the Eras tour, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of digging this.
Mhm.
And she actually has a breathier voice than I prefer. But her songwriting, and I said this in an episode recently, maybe last week, so I can't keep up now, but her songwriting is very comparable to Taylor's to me. And I think that's why Us works so well. And I can only imagine them. I can just see them like, oh, what about, well, even in the video Gracie put out, Taylor's like, oh, what about this? And they're just playing so well off of each other. Also, Gracie always works with Aaron Dessner, who is phenomenal. And so from a songwriting, this is going to come up in another question too, but Gracie to me is really high up right now. As far as my review of the new album, I love it. I will be honest, I have not done a deep dive on it like I do when a Taylor album comes out. But I do have a road trip coming up next weekend, so I plan to actually do more of this, so maybe I'll have more. But, Gracie is like kind of known as like always being on what they call the Sad Girl Summer playlist. And perhaps that's kind of my niche. I don't know, but I love it. So, but she has like that folky pop kind of thing, very much like Evermore and Folklore with Taylor. And so that's just my vibe. Like I love those. So this album is again more of that, but I did think that she showed a lot of growth in this album from her last album, Good Riddance. Just she's growing up. She's super young.
Right.
And obviously, again, we don't speculate on people's personal lives, but this album is very much, in my opinion, a letter to her ex, whomever that may be.
Yeah.
And
No, I do agree. I think she is young. But
Yeah.
I think when you're writing, not only writing songs as well as she is at this age, but you're collaborating with other people that are mentoring you in that.
Hmm.
I think that she's on an incredible trajectory with her career and her songwriting that it's only going to get better than what we're getting right now. And what we're getting right now is really, really good.
And what's probably unfortunate for Gracie is I think because she is so young and the way that you can see her songwriting going, even with this album very much seeming like a letter to her ex, who could be her current now too. I'm just saying. Um, I think that we're going to see Gracie go through a lot of the heartaches that Taylor has gone through, and it's going to give us that music. So I
Yeah.
think that her career will follow that trajectory a lot. What I do not ever see Gracie doing, though, she will never own the pop scene the way Taylor has.
No.
She doesn't have that. I don't even think she would be interested in it, but she
Yeah.
doesn't have that demeanor. She doesn't have that stage presence. But the album itself, Gracie is one of those ones. There are artists that are really good album people. There's
Mm-hmm.
artists that are really good performers. There are very few that are really good at both.
Yes.
Gracie is very, very good at albums and great in small venues. And as long as she stays true to that, I don't see the sky's the limit for her. But this album is fantastic. Some other songs, if you are interested, she has a song called Tough Love. And it's very Taylor-esque. It's about like choosing your friends over some like random guy, but it has a lot more energy to it than a lot of her music. So it's a good one if you're not into like the brooding kind of thing. But then she has one called Blowing Smoke, which is like totally her alley. It's like a really devastating, brooding kind of my whole love life blew up kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really good too. So
Yep.
big fan. Okay, from Brie. This one was tough for me. Who are your top 3 songwriters of today and why? Assuming TS is number 1. TS being Taylor, if you don't know that.
Yeah.
I don't. Laura may be confused. I don't know. So, who are your 3?
So this one was actually easier for me to answer
Oh, okay.
than I thought that it would be.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm a big Taylor Swift fan with her songwriting, and since Brie already knew that, I'm not
Yeah.
going to count her in my 3. So
Yeah.
I can do 3 others. Jelly Roll is quickly becoming one of my favorites.
We just love him as a human.
We adore him. He's fantastic. I think the way that I pick my favorite songwriters are the songwriters that it feels like they are writing as true storytellers. And they're telling you about experiences that we have lived through ourselves or that we can understand and relate it back to something. I don't like songwriters that are literally just writing a song that's got a catchy bop to it that just is trying to hit mainstream. Not saying that they're not good because they are good. It's just not what I tend to lean towards. So I went Jelly Roll, Dan and Shay. They write most of their music.
God.
I know we're not
can't have
shocked
an episode without them. Okay.
And then Nicole Gallion, she used to be based in Nashville. She lives in Kansas now. She's an incredible writer, and she's written all across genres. I mean, she wrote for Point of Grace way back in the day. She writes for Tori Kelly, Kelsey Ballerini, Dan and Shay. Like any huge name artist currently, she has probably written with them. But her vibe and her whole aesthetic when she writes is she is a storyteller. And she kind of relates it back to like growing up and being in small towns. And so she's one of my favorites. Anything that she writes, guaranteed it's going to be a hit.
Well, that is interesting because that was actually one of the reasons I struggled a little bit with this because there were names that came to me very quickly. And that's really who I ended up going with. The names that came to me super fast, just like off the top of my head. But those are typically artists who write their own music, very much like Taylor, right? But then I got in my head to thinking there's all these writers that are writers.
Yeah.
And even if they have a musical career, that's not how we know them. And a lot of times, honestly, we don't even know their names.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, I really want to dig into that more and find out because there are artists or there are writers now too that I used to like. And because they've become problematic, like Max Martin, I don't like him anymore. But yet he wrote a lot of stuff on the original 1989, you know?
Yes.
So yeah, Taylor was definitely number 1 for me. I do have a surprising one for you.
Okay.
Pete Wentz
Okay.
from Fall Out Boy.
Wouldn't have pulled that one out.
No. Okay, so I have to give credit where credit is due, though. I actually realized this because, again, I didn't realize he was writing the music. But a few years back, there was an article that Taylor was interviewed in, and she said that her top favorite writers at the time were Lana and Pete Wentz. And I was like, Pete Wentz? Fall Out Boy? What are we talking
Dude,
about?
that's crazy.
But then I like went and looked up some of his lyrics, and I pulled some of them back up again for a little example here. But like, got a lot of friends who are stars, but some are just black holes. Got my degree in the gutter, my heart broken in the dorms of the Ivy League, a loaded God complex, cock it and pull it. Like, she's right. He's got some really good lyrics. So I have Pete on there. Now here's my problem though. It's my third place. I've got a 3-way tie.
Okay.
Now, we were just talking about Gracie's songwriting. So the question, the way this was worded was, let me go back. Where the heck am I?
Assuming TS is number one.
And it says of today and why. So today, I'm going to say Gracie over Lana.
Okay.
This time period in our lives, I would say Lana over Gracie. And then my other one that I have that I can't neglect because some of my absolute like favorite lines in some of Taylor's songs is Aaron Dessner.
Yeah.
But that was a really great question. And it makes me now want to go look more when songs are written, especially by performers who we know. Like when Taylor has a song out, I always just assume she wrote it. And if I find out someone wrote it with her, like, okay, great. I don't have that assumption about a lot of other artists. So I'm going to pay more attention.
Did you ever watch that show? I think it was on NBC called Songland. It had like Ryan Tedder, Shane McAnally, and a couple other people.
No.
It was where these random people would come in and sing a song that they had written in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then each of them would pick who their favorite person was. No. And then they would go off separately and then get the song, make it better and stuff. It was so interesting. I think it aired in 2020, and then I think they did a second season maybe last year. But I watched the one in 2020, and it was so interesting to watch them collaborate with the musicians that they had in the room, the original songwriter, and then them, and kind of how they tweak words and sentences and thoughts together. It was fascinating to watch. But that was a really good one. If you're into songwriting, I'm sure it's on like YouTube or something that you could find. But that was so good.
Huh. I'll have to go look for that. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right, let me see.
We're just dropping nuggets of wisdom here, guys.
Telling you, this next one, because we just talked about it again. It says it's from Shay, which I do wonder if my two friends named Shay, but
no, I saw that and I was like, is that Mandy?
Yeah, no, it's not, because I looked at the account. Is everyone named Shay now? It's so weird to me. Okay. You all have mentioned Jelly Roll before, and clearly Becca just did again. What's your take on country music right now? Morgan, which I'm assuming is Morgan Wallen.
Yeah.
Jelly Roll, Zach Bryan for the dudes, and Megan Kelce Laney for the girls.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you kick this off as our resident country music expert, the Dan and Shay president of the fan club here.
No, I think we're actually getting back to a really good spot in country music. I feel like for a while it kind of leaned more towards pop and radio and trying to get more people interested and grabbed on. And I think you lost a lot of the storytelling and like the 90s country vibe that was really what made country music feel like country. I feel like you've got some real good ones in there with Jelly Roll, Lainey Wilson. My goodness, just listening to her talk is the highlight of the day. I love her accent. But I also feel like you kind of get to know the artists a little bit better, kind of like how we used to have with Martina McBride and Reba and Garth and all of that. So I think we're getting back into a really good rhythm with country music where we're getting some of those good songs again because they are leaning more into storytelling. Because honestly, that's what your audience is showing that they want.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's across all genres of music too.
I think that people like Kelsey Ballerini does a really good job of, yes, she sings country, but it's not like wangy tangy. So she really kind of broadens the audience to bring more people into country. So I think you've got, and Jelly Roll too.
Yeah. So I have a weird relationship with country music. Like growing up, obviously we listened to a lot of Christian music. If y'all need a deep dive on Point of Grace or Avalon, I'm your girl.
Oh man.
Now let me tell you though, they got some vocals in Avalon, the original Avalon, because of course everybody cycles through. But back then it was that, and then country was kind of like the only segue I could have into secular music and not have to break my CDs at youth camp, But also, like, we have a family member that's been in George Strait's band since they were in college. So, like, I've always had to go to country concerts and stuff. But, like, back in the, like, kind of when I segued out of liking country music was right after Lady Antebellum got really big, when they were still Lady Antebellum. I loved them. And we have family connections there, too. So I'm not saying anything bad about them. But it was kind of right after that. There was this whole movement of, like, I don't know even how to put it, like Hollywood style country music.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
Real showy, like I feel like they all wore those Von Dutch t-shirts.
Yes.
It was just the whole thing. Like,
it was like their identity got confused.
Yeah, I just was like not in on that. And it was kind of in the same time period that the people we grew up on were, definitely kind of not aging out, but, getting up there. And so I kind of just abandoned country music in general. And obviously, like, the Taylor thing kind of got me introduced or brought back into it a lot. But I still wasn't really loving anybody until Kelce kind of came along. I was like, oh, I really like her. So that kind of brought me back in. So the person specifically asked about, like, obviously we love Jelly Roll. Again, you've got artists that are really good in different segments. Jelly Roll, to me, love him and want him to have all the best in life. He is not going to sell out a stadium. Yeah. In my opinion. He's just not, like, I can't imagine paying to go watch him in a stadium. I think I would love to see him in a small venue, that kind of thing. Really, I just want to see him talk and interviews with him because I love him.
Yes.
So, but they brought up two other interesting entities. Morgan Wallen, who we have talked about on here before. We've talked about more about the issues he keeps finding himself in. But also, like, Morgan keeps canceling concerts left and right.
I mean, he can't stay healthy. That's what the excuse is, at least.
Yeah. And so I just saw he reactivated his Instagram this week to announce he's going to do a big show in Knoxville at Neyland Stadium, his coming home show. I mean, I hope he shows up, because
Here's the thing. I have always wondered how musicians can do these long tours or sets of shows, because number one, you're traveling. That's a hit on your body. You're inside, you're outside, you're doing all kinds of weird hours, maybe not getting sleep. So I do understand that's a strain on your voice. I don't understand how people that it is your job to use your vocal cords get sick, because I don't know of any time on the tour Taylor has canceled because she was sick. And Homegirl is singing much longer than any of these other artists and much more frequently.
And there's been,
so it just makes you wonder, like, what does she do to help her immune system, her vocal cords, and all of those things that maybe these other artists just think, oh, this is my God-given talent. I don't have to do anything to, like, keep it strong. I don't know.
She mentioned in that New York Times article that came out in the fall that when she was preparing for the Eras tour, she quit drinking. We know based on social media that she drinks again. But I think there are a few artists, perhaps Mr. Wallen, that maybe don't adhere to that. Taylor has, I think that's been said before, she has actually never canceled a show ever for sickness. She's only canceled 2 shows in her entire career. One was for political upheaval in the country they were in, I think during the Red tour. And then the one that recently, because of the weather and the death and all of that. And also, I think the timing of Morgan's cancellations are a little odd. It's usually like an hour before the show starts.
Yeah.
And people are paying a lot of money to see him. And I mean, I know people that
fly in for it. So even if you reschedule, they can't necessarily fly out again.
And if it is legitimately his body and his health, which I'm going to say I'm skeptical of, but just let's assume that that's accurate.
Yeah.
His team not understand better his stamina ability and his schedule.
Right.
Like, I
Right.
feel like if that's, I don't know. So I'm going to tell you, I'm not a huge Morgan fan. I'll be honest. I don't really care if he cancels the show because I'm never going anyway. I just don't love his music that much. And listen, I know people are huge Zach Bryan fans. Like, I mean, it's crazy.
I think I asked you the other day, I was like, where do
Yeah.
you stand on him? Because I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm not listening to his music. Like, if it comes on, I typically skip and go to the next song.
so he had an album come out, last Thursday?
I think so.
Or maybe the Thursday before. I don't know. It was recently. He's another one too that he can find himself in trouble. And not only just with the law, like he just, again, last week had a snafu on social media during a political issue that happened. So I don't know where I land on Zach. I will say I have gone through and read the lyrics of his new album because, as we know, I like to read everything. He writes really good music.
Okay.
I don't love the delivery of it, but
No.
listen, I know people love him, and so that's great. And as far as the women go, Kelce is top for me. I am actually not that familiar with Megan Maroney at all.
She's fairly new. She's got Tennessee Orange is her big hit that came out.
Yeah.
She was kind of tied to Morgan Wallen, and I think that kind of blew her up a little bit too.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have a ton of stuff out. I mean, she's good. It's catchy.
Yeah. And then, I love Lainey. I love listening to Lainey's interviews, but again, I'm actually not that familiar with her music either. So
yeah, I only know a couple of her songs.
I'm going to make a prediction though. And we need to hire an intern to go back and listen to all of our episodes and write down all of our predictions so that we can check up on. I'm going to make a prediction, not this album that's about to come out from Kelce, but I would bet you the next one. I think she will switch genres.
I could see that easily.
Because I think her whole vibe and her whole persona is no longer Nashville. So
yeah, but I think even if she switches, I think she'll still keep her country fan base. I don't think it would be a switch that would cause her to lose like some others.
Well, and I don't see her again, she's not going to be the sequins pop star, I don't see that either, but kind of that more folky kind of thing, which lends itself really well to country anyway. But great question. All right, from Michael. You talk podcasts and sports, but don't mention about okay, this I didn't even read this that well, I guess. Don't mention about the Barstool Network other than BWTB. Oh, Bussin' with the Boys. Yeah, I knew this. Sorry.
Okay. I highlighted that. I was like, what is that?
Yeah. I swear I've read this question before, and I guess I just didn't read it that well. Which of their shows do you listen to, like, or dislike about Barstool? So we've actually talked about doing a deep dive on here about Barstool. And I think we probably still will eventually. Because of your questions, we don't get into our deep dives, which is fine by us. But we have talked about this. I'm intrigued and mesmerized by Dave Portnoy.
Yes.
I think what he has done with his career and his network and just everything.
It's impressive.
And he doesn't shy away from controversy. He doesn't shy away from being opinionated. So, I've got respect for it. I don't always agree by any means. But I'll be honest, I had absolutely no idea until this question, and I went out to just research what all was a part of Barstool. Full disclosure, did not know Bussin' with the Boys was part of Barstool. We are new to Bussin' because of Travis. Yes. So I didn't even know. And the question, that's why I didn't know what BWTB was, because I was like, but then it hit me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my gosh. So I went and looked on the barstoolsports.com website. They have a tab for shows, and it goes on and on. There's like 100. It is crazy because that means he makes money off all those too. But
he's not hurting financially.
Other full disclosure, I do not listen to 99% of these. I have never heard of 85% of them.
Yeah.
There are also some people who I thought were a part of Barstool, and I think that if we do a deep dive, apparently there were scandals and breakups that I didn't know about.
Yes.
I thought the girls that do Taylor Talk or Taylor Watch, Kelly Keegs, I thought she was a part of Barstool, but apparently I think there's drama there. She used to be. And then I think the biggest veteran of Barstool that has blown it out of the water is Call Your Daddy.
Yep. Yep.
Which I do love Call Your Daddy, but that wasn't the question. So here's the story. We're new to Bussin' with the Boys, but I enjoy it. Yeah. I have a very mixed bag relationship with Dave's show, The BFFs, with Josh Richards and Brianna Chicken Fry.
I don't listen to it, and usually when it pops up on TikTok, just clips of it,
I was going to say, I have never once in my life gone on my phone to listen to it. I have only consumed their content via TikTok. I will sometimes, I'll click on it to see what they're discussing, and then if it's something stupid, I'll just move on. Yeah. So it is not something I'm committed to. The only other one that I'm remotely familiar with is the Plan Brie Uncut with Brianna and her friend Grace O'Malley.
I don't like them.
And I have a weird vibe with them too. Again, I've never clicked on it on my phone. I'll catch it on TikTok. Here's the thing. I want to like Brianna and Grace. I want to. I don't know why, but I want to, but I
can't. Here's the thing. I don't like Brie's vibe. I just,
and now that she's with Zach Bryan, I feel like she's real sure of herself. And I am not against a woman having confidence in herself.
Right. I love the confidence.
I feel like her confidence is not coming from herself.
Okay. And see, here's my thing. Grace has no confidence.
No. Whatsoever. And it's the butt of the joke every time, and it's uncomfortable.
And I hate that. Like we've worn that out. And then I think Brie comes in now that she has all this and again, this is just my perception of it. I don't listen to all of their shows or the whole thing, but it just comes across as Brie seems very condescending in how she speaks to Grace. And I'm like, what kind of a friendship is that?
And apparently they've been friends since they were like little kids. And apparently there is like known drama that now they've addressed on the show between them. Yeah. And so I do think she said the other day that her contract, at least her contract with with BFFs is another 1.5 years. But the way she said it made it sound like maybe her Plan Brie contract is that long too. I don't see that show going past that. No. She's already said she wants her own show and she wants a show with Zach. And so I don't know. Grace is like trying to
launch. That's not the move.
Oh, no, I'm out completely on that. I think that Grace is trying to launch a comedian career.
Yes.
However you would say that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like when the butt of the joke is always like your insecurities and your self-doubt. It's just
gets old really fast.
I'm not going to go listen to that podcast. And
so also, really, to answer your question, we don't listen to
we don't know, but we are interested in doing a deep dive just because we're interested in the business model. So,
Yep.
Next up, we've got from Rachel. Do you think Travis is really the most, quote, green flag guy Taylor has dated, and why? And again, 4 parts. And who are some other green flags of pop culture? If you're not familiar with green flag, that basically means they're not a red flag. Like there's not a bunch of glaring issues about the person.
Yeah.
I'll go first. Yes, I do think that Travis is probably the most green flag person Taylor has dated. I will say though, and I don't mean this in a spicy way, and I don't even have like examples in my head. I am not one of these people who thinks Travis is like the most perfect human being on earth. Right. I think we're all human, so there's flaws.
Right. We're very realistic about that.
I do think there are a few things to me that could be red flags about Travis, but overall in the landscape of the dating history, yes. Other than maybe Taylor Lautner, but I'll be honest, there's things about him that give me real icky vibes. So yeah, I do think he is. What about you?
Yeah, I think that he is. I also think we're seeing her in a very mature relationship and an open relationship, whereas before it just kind of feels like high schoolers dating and very secretive. So in that aspect, we've always really had to kind of write our own narrative for it. I think that this one is more mature, and it seems very much more of a green flag because both of them are very confident in who they are and what their career is. Mm-hmm. And no one's having to shy away from their own spotlight to support the other. And to me, that's a huge green flag when you're super supportive of the other person, and it does not phase you how much success they have versus how much success you have. That doesn't even seem to be a topic of conversation for them. I think that's more of like the media. And
Yeah.
honestly, that was really only even in the beginning. I feel like even they've stopped with that. So
Yeah. As far as the third part of your question, who are some other green flags of pop culture? I struggled with this.
I mean, I feel like Blake and Ryan are one of my green
Okay,
flags,
so
just in general.
I had
Because I
my
pick
green
more of
flag.
like the people that seem down to earth. I'm not going to pick somebody that just
Okay,
is
yeah.
constantly calling the paparazzi.
Yeah, so I
Probably
had them
too,
as
so.
green flags, but I put in my notes that I do understand there are red flags that have circulated in the media about
Yes.
their past. So I am not denying that. I am talking about today. I think they are very green flag. I also had Gracie. I think she's incredibly green flag. I think she is
Yeah.
very loyal to the people around her, the people who've helped her get where she is. I also think she is a Nepo baby. Her dad is J.J. Abrams, that's like the end all be all director with like Star Wars and all that. I don't think she's played that at all. I think
I
90%
was going to say,
people,
she's never seemingly played that card.
she never even, like, when he's at her shows, nobody knows.
Yeah.
She's all about her mom. So I had her. I struggled to come up with any guys that were green flags, and I didn't know if that's what they meant. But I picked Ryan, and then I also picked Rob McElhaney.
Oh, that's a great one.
I mean, and there could be news that I don't know about. Like,
Could be.
I just think what they both have done for the community of Wrexham in
Yeah.
Wales, and I just think like what they do in their bonds with their wives, and
Yes.
then just what they do for the things that they love, like everything that Rob and his wife did for the Eagles Foundation with that jacket of Kylie's. Like, I don't know. That's who I picked, but I struggled with that because I'm like, everybody has something.
Right. Everybody's got some kind of red flag, but
All right, last one from Jessica. I'm doing my first fantasy football draft with my husband and his friends this year. Who do I draft?
exciting.
Now, listen, this is super exciting. We're very happy for you. We do need you to keep us posted as
Yes.
to how this goes. Now, Becca joined our family fantasy football last year. I feel like I got this same question via text from her. And as the draft was happening, the questions amok. So if you have more, Jessica, please just hit us up. I can help you. I've done fantasy
Jessica.
before.
Just be prepped for draft night. It's stressful. It is stressful. And you will figure it out as you go.
Yeah.
Listen, I had to text Mandy, like, how do I log in? What do I do when I log in?
So I made a little how-to guide. And maybe we'll put this on social.
You're going to have to, because I'm going to need it this year too.
God, it did remind me too that I need to get it set up for this next season, which makes me so happy that it's time to do that. Number one on my list was to know your login to the league. That is very key, because I can't tell you how many people wait until like 10 minutes before the draft and are like, how do I get in? What's my login? Too late. The other note that I will give you, and I don't know how versed you are, Jessica, in football. If you're like us and you know far more than you should, go ahead and be a part of your draft. If you know nothing about football or you're intimidated, set that sucker to auto draft for you and walk away. Because what that's going to do is that's going to give you the very best player available at your turn. That is a great strategy, because otherwise you could overthink it. Welcome to my life. I overthink everything, and this is one of them. Now, if you do want to have
also flip back and forth. Like, you can go in and
put it on
back on auto.
Yes, we do ESPN. I have done Yahoo before as well. Do we do ESPN?
We did ESPN last year.
Okay, yeah, we do. We used to do Yahoo, and it's a whole thing. And again, I don't know your draft style either. We do a snake draft. So there's all those things that play into it as well. Now, if you are somebody that like you want to be actively in it, you do kind of have some wherewithal about who the players are, that kind of thing. Number one thing I'm going to tell you, don't draft a player just because you like them.
True.
Because if I was going to
Bryce Young, I'm coming for you.
Listen, I'm not pointing fingers, but Becca may have done that last year. But like, for instance, Travis is my favorite current NFL player. I'm not going to go draft Travis first. Right. I don't even know if I'd go after him. Okay. Yeah. you got to think about if you want to win. And
Right.
if you're just here for a good time, do whatever you want. Just have fun with it. But if you're really trying to win, you're going to need to come up with a strategy. You need to be researching now. Like,
Yes.
you need to be doing this now. For the past 2 seasons, I'll give you my pointer. For the past 2 seasons, I have drafted a running back first, and it has worked out very, very well for me. I was in the finals last year. I lost by a very unfortunate event of an injury. Otherwise, I should have won, but because I drafted Christian McCaffrey both years first. Fantastic decision, but it also depends on where you fall in the draft order. So have a plan if you're going to be active. And if you're scared
Right.
and you don't know what you're doing, just put it on auto draft.
Yep.
But also, just as a note, because you said you were playing with your husband and his friends, if you do put it on auto draft, you don't have to tell them.
Yeah. No.
Like,
Let them think that you know what you're doing over there.
just let it ride. We're with you though.
Yes.
And keep us posted on how you do for sure.
Yeah.
And I will keep y'all posted on how Becca does this year.
It's got to be better than last year.
Well, I mean,
Listen, last year I went on vibes and names that I knew.
it was problematic. There were some
Because listen,
strategies.
if you're not in like, you're not playing for the Chiefs that I watch a ton,
Yeah.
I don't really deep dive and know the other players that well.
Yeah.
So I went on vibes and names that I knew, and that really was not beneficial to me. I got beat a lot. I think I won the first game, and I was like, "Oh, I nailed this. I'm totally gonna take this all the way," and I did not.
My 8-year-old slaughtered her. Just so you know,
slaughtered. I mean, it wasn't even close. Within the first like quarter, we knew. I just put the phone away.
It was like a Thursday night game. I was like, "Well, this is over." So anyway, that's all we've got for the July episode. We, again, are still stunned that you listen to the show and you submit questions. We appreciate it. Keep them coming for the August episode.
It makes our heart so happy. I love it.
I still am shocked, but we appreciate it. And I have no idea when this will air, but go Team USA because it'll be happening somewhere.
Woo! We're so close.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks, guys.